And I believe the first 7 minutes we have Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I say welcome to our officials and thank you for being with us today. I'm going to focus my questions on a couple of topics, but first, small craft harbors is very important to my riding of Bonavista Beer and Trinity, with over 100 of the harbors in these coastlines, or on the coastlines in my riding. Fishers and recreational boaters rely on them for both their livelihood and the enjoyment they get from recreational boating. So on this note, I was pleased to see such significant investment of $250 million into maintaining our small craft harbors. It is clear that government cares about investing in the coastal communities that we live in. So could you please tell us here, though, if the department has finalized its investment plans for 2018-2019 as it relates to small craft harbors, and when will we know the plan for allocating this money?
Madam Chair, through you, thank you very much for the question. Yet the allocation through the last budget was a tremendous investment, and the work is going on. I will turn to Sylvie Lapointe, our Assistant Deputy Minister, who has that detail, but I would say very, very soon. A lot of the initial work in potential project identification, looking at some of the requirements, is underway to get to the final list. As well, the regular programming has already been moved underway. So I'll turn to Sylvie.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Yes, we did receive some substantial investments into the program. It's B-based funding, so over a 2-year period. $250 million. We are currently moving the list of projects through approvals. There are the money that we received is for maintenance and repairs and dredging operations for our core fishing harbors, but there's also a significant amount that will be going to divestiture of non-core fishing harbors to reduce the department's risk in this regard. As our deputy mentioned, the A-base funding that we have, about $100 million every year, those projects are underway for this year. And we are confident we'll be able to deliver on the program. We have a strong track record of doing that over the last 3 years. In addition to our A-base funding of $100 million, we've been able to spend over $400 million in additional funds. So as soon as we have the list finalized, we'll be sharing it with the committee.
If I could just ask a subsequent question. How many small craft harbors are expected to benefit from the additional funding over the next 2 years? How is the allocation of funds decided upon for each individual small craft harbor?
So I don't yet have the breakdown of how many harbors will receive funding, but the way the projects are selected with respect to overall maintenance and repairs, they're based on consultations with our harbor authorities, as well as studies that are done on the ground by our engineers to determine the state of the condition of the small craft harbor. So the ones that are in a state of disrepair, that are at risk, where there are a lot of commercial harvesters accessing those harbors and there are significant socioeconomic impacts to the communities, those will be the harbors that are placed on a priority basis. With respect to the ones that will be divested, it's very much dependent on the state of readiness with respect to negotiations with municipalities, with the governments, with third parties that are prepared to take on the small craft harbor.
Thank you. With regards to the Oceans Protection Plan, we have an historic investment in protecting our oceans, which is the lifeblood of many of our communities, of course. I was proud that this plan provided for the reopening of the Coast Guard substation, which you referenced in your opening comments, and allowed for the building of 2 new lifeboat stations, one that is located in my riding in Old Perdican. Could you please inform us how the funds for the Ocean Protection Plan have been rolling out and the progress we've made on the various pillars of the plan?
Madam Chair, through you, thank you very much for the question. This year, the rollout of the Oceans Protection Plan is really going to be a huge focus for the department. I also referenced in my opening remarks some of the contribution funding that will go to many of our third parties through restoration projects. Those are going to happen across the country, and they're really going to be a tremendous advantage as we work to restore critical habitat across the country. The Commissioner of the Coast Guard and actually Assistant Commissioner Pelche can talk to you about some of the investments in the Coast Guard's investment, I would say, in a couple of areas. In the people, you know, building up the capacity that we've frankly lost in terms of the men and women who serve Canadians in the Coast Guard, also in the physical assets that have been coming and purchasing vessels and situating search and rescue on shore, also working through a lot of the, you know, the really basic infrastructure, the radar, the ability to detect vessels and follow through. Mario, do you have other?
Sure. Again, it's a lot about people, but a lot about equipment as well too. So, a number of ships, radar site, emergency response equipment who's key to our ability to respond on water. So we're renewing our entire suite of emergency response equipment, purchasing a mobile command post as well too. So ready to deploy people in the field, ready to take action and proper management. We're
Thank you,
looking at
Mr. Pelletier. That's the 7 minutes is now up. So maybe somebody else can finish that line of questioning if you'd like.